Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton, and today I have this card for you. I've made it as a Mother's Day card, but it would work equally as well as a wedding card, engagement card, any sort of anniversary card, any sort of special occasion card really. And I've given it a very vintage touch, and it really follows on from my Going Global frame that I did yesterday. Sometimes you get in a certain frame of mind, and for a couple of days I've felt very like reminiscing on things, and that always makes me think of very old, more vintagey, very retro type of things. So that's how this card came about. And I also wanted to share with you a faux watercolour technique that gives the washed out look of the background. And despite what you see on the card, it's actually only made using 3 stamp sets, 3 ink pads, and 2 stamp sets. So the ink pads I've used today is Sahara Sand, Blushing Bride and Soft Suede. The stamp sets are First Sight and Watercolour Wash. And the Watercolour Wash is a huge great stamp. It's a full A6 stamp, and it's just a superb stamp for making all sorts of backgrounds that don't necessarily end up looking like a watercolour project, but that's how I achieved that washed out, aged look on the card. It works best, this technique, either with already moistened watercolour paper, or as I'm doing today, which is with shimmery Whisper White cardstock. So to begin with, you need to make your card base, and this is a 12-inch, or rather 6-inch card base. So you need a piece of thicker Whisper White cardstock. It really must be thicker Whisper White cardstock, because it's got some heavy layers on the card, and it's a special occasion card, so you do want it to be able to stand up on its own for a little while at least before it gets packed away. So once you've trimmed your cardstock to 12 inches by 6 inches, you then want to score through the middle of the long side at 6 inches. Then using your bone folder and line it up, the two short edges together, bring it down, and I have pre-scored this, so, and then just burnish that fold with a bone folder. Because we are going to be doing lots of inky stuff, please put that to one side so you don't get contamination by inks. Next, you want a piece of shimmery Whisper White cardstock that measures 12 centimetres by 12 centimetres. You can probably just pick up the glimmer there. The light is fading fast. It's very dark out there. We don't have any outside lighting where we live, so when it gets dark, and it gets dark very quickly. So that's the piece that we're going to be working on. And you want a bone folder. If you haven't got this stamp as a wood mount stamp, then you do need an acrylic block. And you're going to ink this up with Sahara Sand ink pad. And you just go all over. And then you want to get an aqua painter filled with just plain water, and just pop a few drops of water down on there. You then want to pick up your trimmed cardstock, shimmery cardstock, and have it, make sure you've got the right side face down. otherwise you do get a slight ridge where the trimmer works, so make sure you've got the best side down. Gently lay that down, give it a press with your hand just gently, and then from the middle out just press down. And Shimmery Whisper White cardstock is really good for watercolour techniques. And then just lift that up. I'm going to get a piece of kitchen towel, and with that I'm going to take off the excess moisture on the stamp, just so I don't get it everywhere. Put that to one side, and then just using this, just very gently go over, just picking up any excess ink. And you're not actually transferring ink anywhere, you're just literally picking it up. And it doesn't take very long at all for this cardstock to dry, but you actually want it not completely dry to start stamping. Okay, so you're going to start with Blushing Bride, and the last large flourish stamp from, and I haven't cleaned it, that's very naughty of me, isn't it? Bit of Stampin' Mist and that kitchen towel. Clean it all off. There we go. Right, so you're going to start with Blushing Bride, and don't panic because it's not going to be particularly visible. And you're just going to randomly stamp using all those techniques I showed you earlier this week. So you're using a combination of random stamping, stamping off the page. The only one I'm not using is stamping off, so stamping off onto card or scrap paper. So you just want to be rotating, so you've got random stamping, stamping off the page, and that helps to build up some colour. And you just want to capture some of those edges because that's where the pink will follow through. You don't want too much, just some subtle little flourishes around those edges. There you go. So you just need to clean this, as we're going to repeat that process with soft suede ink. So just a bit of Stampin' Mist, it's just about run out, I'll have to refill that. And just clean off the stamp. And then we're going to repeat that just with a couple of the flourishes, one in opposite corners, so one down this end, and then without re-inking, so second generation stamping up that end, so you've got difference in tone. Don't put that way yet. And then you want, it's like a heart, a very beautiful intricate heart, so you want that one. And you're going to stamp this in these two corners. Again, opposite each other. There you go. And this cardstock is dry. So what you're seeing is this is where we stamped where it was a little bit moist, and as it gets drier the colour is more intense as we stamp. And that is the background done. I just need to clean this because I'm going to be using that in a moment. So just to allow this to dry completely, I'm just going to clean that heart stamp, and on a scrap piece of Shimmery Whisper White and the Blushing Bride ink pad, you're going to randomly stamp that lovely heart shape. So you're creating another flourish with it, and this is what we're going to stamp the sentiment onto. And you can see again I'm using all of those techniques as I did earlier. And that can go away, and then you want sentiment out, and I've chosen the I have loved you, mother, from the moment I open my eyes. Isn't that just beautiful? And it is how I feel. I know yesterday I spoke about how my dad has advanced prostate cancer, and my mum has very severe respiratory problems because she had Hodgkin's disease when I was just 4 years old. Now bear in mind I'm now a lot older than that. Right, that's not come out nicely, so I'm just going to redo that in a different place. So she's got fibrosis of her lungs, so she has really quite profound breathing problems. So I do worry about my mum and dad a lot, but I love them dearly, both of them. Right, I'm going to punch out this sentiment using the tag punch, and then we're going to vintage it up a little bit, just with a little Sahara sand. Those are the two main elements there. Next comes this is the Love Blossoms embellishment kit. I have shown it to you before, but in case you haven't seen it, you get these lovely rose red bows on paper clips. I'm not using them. And you get these lovely I think there's gold, white, blushing bride coloured sequins. We're not using those either. Then there is some gold and silver foil hearts and some glittery candy dots. Not using them either. What we are using, both of these, this lovely, look, this pearl trim and the blushing bride satin ribbon, and absolutely perfect for what we're doing. So first of all, the ribbon, you just unravel the ribbon a little bit, wrap it around, and then tie a knot. And once you've tied your knot, you're going to do some bunny ears, but you want them to be going away from you. So hold it with your thumb and forefinger and have them going behind your finger. And exactly the same with this piece here. You want two bunny ears, roughly the same size. Make a knot, pull it tightish, and then you can pull on the ends to make your bow as large or small as you want it to be. You can keep doing that until you're happy with the sizes. There we go. I'm in a pair of my sharp paper snips or paper shears. I'm using my paper shears. Just trim off the ends. And that one's already done. Actually I might, shall I shorten it? No. But what I am going to do is just move it so it's a little bit off centre like that. Next job is to get that out of my way, and then with the pearl just thread that up through there like that, turn it over and just loop a few of those onto the back, and using a piece of tear and tape just tape those down so that they don't move, and then you can trim off. Okay, just going to put those to one side, and next you're going to mat this onto a piece of blushing bride cardstock first. So because of the pearl, we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals for this matte layer. Matte and layer can be used interchangeably. So if you kind of imagine a mat on the floor and then putting a runner over the top of it or something like that, that's the kind of thing that you're doing. So matting just means framing, really, the piece of cardstock that you're putting on top of the matte layer. So that goes down on top there. And I have left my pearls purposely so they waggle around, so there's like a rattle and a bit of movement on them. And then this is matte onto a piece of crumb cake cardstock, measuring, so the first matte layer, the blushing bride layer, is 12.4 by 12.4 centimetres, and the crumb cake layer is 12.8 by 12.8 centimetres. And I'm using fast fuse for this layer, and I'm doing it this way. Normally obviously you would do the back, but I don't want to get the pearls and the bow to leave impressions on the card. So make sure you're working just inside the perimeter of the card, so it allows for a slightly smaller piece of cardstock going on top. And pop that down onto that matte layer like so, and then very gently a couple of strips of fast fuse one side and the other, tiniest bit in the middle here and here. Bring in your card base, make sure you haven't got any damp card or paper underneath where you're putting your card. So that goes, just eyeball it. I never do mine by specific measurements, but then I have worked in reprographics since, well, actually worked since I was 20, 18, 19, 20, but grew up with a father who had a print press in the garage. So that's that bit, and then your last bit is your little label here. So pop some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back there. There we are. And I'm sure you will agree this is a lot less complicated than you probably thought it was going to be. And there is today's card. So I hope you like that. The full tutorial, typed up tutorial, will be available on my blog the same time as this goes live. And I put all the products on there with links, so if you click on the products, it will take you straight to my online store. If you're not in the UK, don't worry, it will default to stampinup.net, so it still get you through to Stampin' Up. Obviously I'd love you to leave comments in the comment section under today's video, and all my social media is listed in the show more section of today's video. Feel free to follow me in any or all of those, because I do love hearing from all of you and developing new friendships. It's an important lifeline for me, because I'm disabled, so I don't actually leave my home very often. So my workshop and doing my videos and classes is a really important part of my working week. So anyway, that's enough disclosure for today. Thank you very, very much for watching, and ta-ta for now.